So now, please welcome the official, non-official, non-sponsor of the Savannah Bananas, but a big fan. Please welcome John Fletcher.
Welcome to another edition of 15 on Fridays with Fletch. Have you ever wondered how to make an impact on LinkedIn? Well, you're about to meet the guru of LinkedIn, the man who can make you stand out. Following an 11-year career as national sales and marketing director for Verizon, he reinvented himself and mastered LinkedIn. He speaks all across the country and meets frequently with the let's try it again. He speaks all over the United States, and he meets frequently with the University of Texas at Arlington EMBA program. Today, he's going to teach us about social selling. So please welcome the guru of LinkedIn, Terry Sullivan. Terry, how are you doing today?
John, I'm doing so good. Thank you so much for the invite. It's so wonderful to be on your 15 on Fridays with Fletch program. I'm honored. So thank you for having me.
Good. Well, tell us about the difference between LinkedIn and other social media like Facebook and X and TikTok.
Well, I've been doing this since 2010, and I can tell you the last 15 years or so, LinkedIn has changed exponentially. But one thing that has held true, it's a professional site and it's a great networking site. And it has more of a serious tone than sites like Facebook or Instagram or even TikTok. I love all those platforms. I'm on all of them. But when it comes to a professional networking online site, LinkedIn can't be beaten. That's why Microsoft bought them way back when, just because they knew that it was more of a serious site for people who really want to find, connect, and develop relationships with each other so they can eventually take their online discussion offline.
Well, and I think that's one of the keys is that you have so many ways to use LinkedIn. A lot of people haven't found the way to master it, to make it monetized, I guess is the best way. So why don't you
Yep.
share with us a couple of overall tips about what LinkedIn is and what LinkedIn isn't?
Yeah. Well, so what LinkedIn is, it's a networking site, but what it's not is an inbound or outbound marketing tool. So many people try to treat LinkedIn like it's email marketing or an outbound marketing campaign. And it's really not that way. People on LinkedIn are professionals, they're busy, and they really know when someone's trying to sell them. And as a matter of fact, I would highly recommend that you don't sell on LinkedIn. You always do all your selling. Use LinkedIn to find people, connect with them, develop trust and rapport. But then ultimately, you take that online discussion offline, and that's where the real magic happens. And once that rapport's developed, that's where the real sales happens. So, a couple of overall tips is, make sure that you have a branding headline that tells people who you are, what you do, and how you can help. Don't make it salesy. If your brand is all about sales, people won't connect with you. They'll run from you. And if you try to connect with them, they'll block you. So one thing is to make sure you have a branding headline that truly tells people what you're all about, and then how you can help. And then the other thing is give back to your community, right? So use LinkedIn to demonstrate your expertise without selling. How can you do that? One of the greatest tips I can give you is you want to like, comment, or share on 3 to 5 posts per day on LinkedIn in your news feed, and then also curate or create an original post once, maybe twice a week on LinkedIn. You don't want to post too much, but give back to your community so they learn something. And the lesson that you taught me many years ago, John, and I use it every day in my life, and it works on LinkedIn really well. But always be the first to give. And that's a lesson you taught me many years ago. And that's a lesson that works very, very well on LinkedIn. The last tip I'll give you is when, if someone connects with you, give them something. Send them an attachment, how to network with LinkedIn, or give them something, a link to a recent article that you've read that will really help resonate with them and help them learn something new.
Tell us about what makes a profile memorable and impactful. What are some of the key terms to use and not to use?
Yeah. So in terms of what makes a profile impactful, so many people I see, they don't have a banner image. And the banner image is that largest area above your LinkedIn profile where you can put a photo of some type. And that reminds me of so much back in the old days. Of course, I'm going to date myself, but they used to have a term called above the fold. Remember that term, John?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
you know, so you'd walk down the street of New York somewhere and you'd see newsstands and you'd see like the New York Times or what have you, and you'd see a big photo with a big headline, and that would really capture your attention and say, hey, I want to buy that newspaper. And people grab it just because of that above the fold kind of approach. And that's what you need to do with LinkedIn. It's just above the fold, have a picture that's going to grab the attention of your audience, that's going to help you create a conversation with them. And then secondly, make sure you have a profile photo that's professional looking. I recently worked with a CEO, and I had a heck of a time convincing him to change his profile photo, but he had a profile of him kissing a dolphin, right? And there he was, picture of him kissing a dolphin. And I said, can we please get rid of that? He goes, oh, I just love it. The people I, work with just love that. I said, but okay, does it really, represent your brand? And he was kind of a serious CEO, so it really kind of conflicted with his brand. So I finally convinced him to change that. And then in terms of tone and what your profile itself, use words, keywords that are strategic to your brand. So many people that, like I worked with a CFO the other day, and he was a Fortune 100 CFO. And, he had 3 or 4 controllers working for him. He was never in Microsoft Excel, but he told me, he was looking for a job, but he told me, he said, I've got to have Microsoft Excel in my brand. I said, really? And I said, why is that? He goes, because all the jobs I'm applying for are saying Microsoft Excel required. I said, really? I said, you're probably applying for the wrong jobs. You're probably applying for jobs that are too low on the totem pole. Let's set yourself a little higher here, and let's ratchet up your brand a little bit, so you don't have to do Microsoft Excel for a living. Keep it out. Or the term Microsoft Word. Name one person, John, who doesn't use Microsoft Word. You don't need to put that in your brand. It's a way. So use keywords that are going to be searchable and that are strategic to your brand. And I could give you a whole bunch more tips if you want them, John, but those are 2 or 3 of the top things that I think are really important to someone just getting into LinkedIn or wanting to enhance their LinkedIn brand.
So you emphasize the concept of social selling. Tell us exactly what social selling is and how that works.
Sure. So many people focus so much on search engine optimization, and they want to have that beautiful that just right keyword in the right place in their profile so they can be found. There's over, 1 billion users on LinkedIn. So the odds of you, in your case, being found for, or anyone, for, let's just say, public relations, which is probably one of your top key searchable terms. But the odds, if that's all you did was have public relations spread throughout your LinkedIn profile, the odds are you're not going to be found for people searching for public relations, unless you implement a social selling strategy. So what is social selling? Well, social selling is all about how well are you utilizing LinkedIn. What are you doing with LinkedIn? How are you using it to find, connect, and develop relationships with your key contacts and prospects? So let me just tell you this. You want to make sure that you check your social selling index, your SSI score. And what is that? It's a measurement of how well you're doing with LinkedIn. And if your listeners are taking notes, write this down. But you want to go, first of all, open up LinkedIn, and then go to LinkedIn in your browser search bar, not your LinkedIn search bar, but in the browser search bar, type in linkedin.com/sales/SSI. And that will give you your SSI score. And you want your SSI score to be in the 70s. It doesn't need to be in the 80s, doesn't need to be in the 90s, just somewhere in the 70s overall. And why is that? Because if you're in the 80s or 90s, you're selling too much on LinkedIn, in my view. So it's in the 70s, and there's 4 components to your social selling index. One is your brand score. You want to be 12 to 15 points on that brand score, because that means you fill out all the sections properly. You really have a brand that's telling people more about who you are, what you do, and how you can help. Number 2, your component of your social selling index is finding and connecting with the right kind of people. And so you want to come up with a process, and I train my clients on this, but it's how to use Boolean searches to find people that you can connect with. And that's so important. Come up with a strategy to where you're regularly sending out 3 to 5 connection requests on a daily basis. So, so you can connect with people that you can network with, that can help you with your business goals, maybe ever even introduce you to others. The third component of your social selling index, John, is all about engagement. And when you post on LinkedIn, it's a lot different than posting on any of the other social media platforms. On Instagram, I love Instagram. I don't know, what your thoughts are about TikTok. I love TikTok. I love all, but as far as business goes, LinkedIn is the number one site because the whole posting strategy, people don't have time that are on LinkedIn to watch videos. They just don't. I mean, there's a lot of debate that videos are becoming more and more prevalent on LinkedIn, which they are if they're quality and they have something to offer. But the point is that you want, with engagement, you want to definitely come up with a strategy. And I really emphasize and suggest that your audience, they like, comment, or share on 3 to 5 posts per day, and they curate or write their own post once or twice a week. And John, let me ask you a question. If I wanted to attract the attention of CEOs with my posting strategy, what day of the week do you think I should post, which would be optimal to
I,
attract more CEOs?
well, if they're getting to go home early, maybe on a Friday or a Saturday, but normally a Tuesday tends, but they could finally be letting themselves down and relax on a Saturday.
Yeah, well, you're exactly right. And you're probably the first person who's ever really guessed the answer, because most people say, oh, Mondays. Well, Mondays is the worst day to post, right? Because everyone's trying to get back into work and they're all posting on LinkedIn. Tuesdays and Thursdays tend to be the best. Wednesdays are probably a good second best. But the best day of the week to post for CEOs would be Saturday mornings. Why? Because CEOs are too busy. They don't get on LinkedIn typically during the week. Maybe they do, but on Saturday mornings, they have more of a propensity to be on LinkedIn. And then the fourth component of your social selling index is all about building relationships. And I'll tell you, the best thing I can tell your audience, John, is that you should get on LinkedIn for 15 at the most 30 minutes a day, and get rid of the red. If you look at your profile, you'll see several links at the top. There's 6 or 7 links there, 7 actually. And you want to just get rid of the red. If you see where someone has tried to connect with you, accept or reject it right away. Don't wait weeks, don't wait days. If you have some new content that's in your news feed on your homepage, go ahead and respond to it, like or comment on it. So be an active LinkedIn user on a daily basis. Spend 15 to 30 minutes a day to really help with your profession. It's called your professional brand, and it's really, I'm sorry, it's called building relationship. That's the fourth component of your social selling index, and you need to use LinkedIn to build relationship. But the definition, here it is, the definition of social selling is all about how do you find, connect, and develop relationships with your key contacts and prospects, right? So you can ultimately take your online discussion offline. That's where the real magic happens, is when you actually talk to people. So here I train people on LinkedIn, but I'm telling you, as soon as you can, find people, connect with them, develop trust, rapport, be the first to give. But as soon as possible, take your online discussion offline and have a conversation with them, or multiple conversations in person, over the phone, via Zoom, chat, whatever. Start talking to them, because that's where the real magic happens.
Okay, so so you want your score to be in the 70s. We got about 30 seconds left. What do you want your first one's 12 to 15 points. Where do you want your second, third, and fourth scores to be?
Okay, I would say on the first three, 12 to 15 points, right, would be great. And the maximum total number of points for the 4 categories is 25. So 12 to 15 points on your brand, establish your brand, 12 to 15 points on find and connect with the right kind of people, 12 to 15 points on your engagement. And here's the thing, the last component of your social selling index is build relationships. And John, they should max that out at 25 points. If they get on LinkedIn every day for 15 to 30 minutes and do everything that we just kind of talked about today, they'll max that out at 25 points. And let me just tell you this, John, please have I want to tell your audience, connect with me on LinkedIn, and also make sure that when we connect, you download my LinkedIn tips document, and I'll send a link to you when you connect with me. And that LinkedIn tips gives a whole bunch of other strategies that you can use to build a brand that tells people all about who you are, what you do, and how you can help, as well as how to use LinkedIn to find, connect, and develop relationships with your key contacts and prospects so you can ultimately take your online discussion offline.
Terry, thank you so much. I appreciate
Sure.
you be giving us so many nuggets of wisdom. You've
Sure.
been watching 15 on Fridays with Fletch with the guru of LinkedIn, Terry Sullivan. Thanks so much, Terry, and we look
You're
forward to
welcome.
seeing y'all again next week.
Thanks, John.